what you thought you knew from the shed of dreams, the Leake in Review.
Hey, welcome back to the program. A great one again for you today. John-Angus MacDonald of the Trews drops by. We talk about the new album, The Bloody Light. We talk about that time that Zach Bryan opened up for him, recording with pals like the Tragically Hip and the Glorious Sons, to early busking days in Niagara Falls, which is something I did not know that they did. John-Angus MacDonald on this episode of The Leake in Review.
Where there's a heartbeat and a stage, there's an artist set to perform. This is The Leake in Review on tour.
Brought to you by the Pecan Agency, connecting fans with bands worldwide. Catch the Trews on tour starting February 13 in Vancouver, Canada, working their way east from there. Dates in Edmonton, Calgary, Saskatoon, everywhere. Go see the Trews, as they've got the new album, they got the new sounds, and of course the classics that you first learned to dance to. More info available on their website, thetruesmusic.com. Coming up, John-Angus MacDonald of the Trews.
Hi, my name is Kim Stockwood. I am a proud Newfoundlander and a Canadian singer-songwriter. In a landscape where many lack access to health benefits or employee assistance programs, the Unison Fund serves as a lifeline of hope for musicians and music industry professionals facing medical emergencies or mental health challenges. To learn more about Unison and their programs, please visit unisonfund.ca.
Let me check your mic. Can we just
check?
You're there.
Check. Coming in?
You're coming in.
Okay.
Yes, country has changed.
Yeah.
A ton. And I keep on saying, and this is without any real hard information, but
hit me with it.
In the 90s, country was gigantic.
It was.
And then it collapsed.
Yeah.
Like towards the end of the 90s, mid-90s on.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So they went from being number one to you're lucky if you're going to be even number four in the whole genre race to the top. All the radio stations went away. There wasn't digital service providers like there is today.
Yeah.
And I think country music today embraced going out and being with fans and creating their own festivals and creating their own fan fest.
Yep.
Where your biggest artists all kind of agreed saying, let's just stick around more and sign more autographs in a time of signing autographs.
I think that's true. I also think that it became like much more human. It became humanized by certain artists. Like I feel like in the 90s, it was like this industry behemoth. It was like the Garth Brooks and the Shanias. It was very like, it felt very like propped up, and it felt very like produced, like super produced. And now like I discovered Zach Bryan because we shared the stage with him in 2022 or something like that. And I had no idea who he was, but somebody said, he's getting huge. Like, look out for this kid. And he was just bumming around the dressing room, smoking darts. He was like super approachable and really like a regular guy. And I feel like it's artists like him who are like humanizing the genre, and they're taking it into a new generation, and they're taking a lot from rock and folk, and they're taking a lot from Americana. And it's not the country of the 90s at all. Like it's a very different, it's almost a different genre.
There are so many subgenres in the country genre today where that never happened before. It was just called country music.
And there still is big and slick and produced happening. I just find like the most exciting artists aren't really doing that in the country genre.
Well, there's a lot of stuff now that just kind of shows up on the radar that is already selling out arenas and yet not getting any real media attention or traditional media attention.
That couldn't have happened in the 90s. It just couldn't have happened.
So that's a Zach Bryan thing.
Yeah.
He was already doing big festival stages well before anybody embraced his play.
We went on before him in Milwaukee at Summerfest, and we were like right before him. And we're like, wow, 10,000 people are here to see us in Milwaukee. Wait, when did we get huge in Milwaukee? Because we didn't know who Zach Bryan was. We just thought it was all like equal billing. But no, they were there for him. Like they were very much there for him. He did that on YouTube. I mean, that's what he was saying. Like it was like, just started posting his stuff straight to YouTube, and like, you know, God bless that can work. It's amazing.
Well, I think that I know an artist who was posting stuff to Reddit.
Yeah.
And I would have never thought in a million dreams, a million thoughts that some band could all of a sudden break it through in Reddit. And what he was doing too is He was coming home, whether he was drunk from the bar.
Is this an artist you can name, or is this like, do you know who?
Cameron Whitcomb.
Okay, cool.
But he's posting things on Reddit, and then he ends up getting a spot on American Idol. Like American Idol producers find him.
Okay.
They bring him out. They find he's charming as fuck. Can't sing.
Right. But that's still happening, American Idol? Is this still happening?
40 years?
Yeah.
I got a whole other thing on American Idol.
Okay. Yeah, we could talk about that separately if you want.
But I'm just saying, like, guys doing it regularly. If you're posting it on Reddit, if you're posting it on YouTube, if you're putting it on your TikTok, if that's the world, I think, that people have to embrace as a new artist today.
Yeah. It's the only avenue. I mean, even if you sign to a label, they're going to tell you to do that stuff. That's the only thing that they really know how to do, or that they're recommending you do that actually works. Like, it's not the old tried and true channels are proving less and less fruitful, even for labels and managers and agents. And like, trust me, everybody wants to figure out how to break artists. Turns out the artists are having to figure it out for themselves. And even the gatekeepers are now saying, well, just do that stuff. Just post to TikTok every day, post to YouTube, go directly to your fans, be an open book. That's basically the advice you get from every level of the industry now. The kids figured it out first, because it's always like, desperation is always like the mother of invention. It's always like, I just got to get out there. And like, you don't even care about gatekeepers. You're just like, I got to get my music heard. But now the lessons have been learned by every level of the industry. And they're just saying, well, make sure you post to TikTok every day.
By comparison, it's kind of the same for a broadcaster.
Right.
There's all kinds of broadcast colleges through the 90s and 2000s, and they are now gone.
Right.
Because the learning was just doing it in my basement by myself and posting stuff online, whatever level.
Are you talking about your OG learning, like when you first started in broadcasting, or what's happening, or like
well,
what's
I'm saying
now?
if the OG was you went to a college,
right,
just to have that filter out of the way. Okay, this person's legit. They really want to work in radio, not just come here to get free movie passes,
which is also a bonus
without
guest
question.
List. Yeah.
But now all of these colleges shut down,
right,
because kids who really want to do stuff in content and entertainment and creation and telling stories and stuff are just doing it naturally for free and generating gigantic followings.
Yep.
So my message is to anyone, you just got to do it all the time and be consistent.
I totally agree with you. And also now people are realizing that even lo-fi is better. So it used to be like when Instagram came along, curation, having a finely curated feed and everything was important. And I find that's going out the window now. It's like people want raw, honest, lo-fi, like pull your phone out when you're in the parking lot and just have your thing, say your piece, and then that kind of goes. The only thing I start to project out into the future, and I have kids, so I think about what they're going to be entering in when they get into teenagehood and everything. It's like, who is the audience and who is the performer? And is everybody part audience and everybody part performer? Like who's watching who? It's like if everybody is a content creator, who are you creating for? Like, who is the content consumer? And I guess we're all part consumer, all part creator is like a one way to look at it, but it's kind of a bizarre thing that we're heading into where like, I don't know anybody who doesn't post to their page as if they have this audience. You know what I mean?
So I know a couple people who do not post anything on
I
social.
know a couple, but they also don't consume that much.
But
the people I'm thinking of.
One in particular is on TikTok, just watching it like it's flipping the channels on the TV.
Yep.
Just going through the entire listing and enjoying it. Like,
yep.
So that's a good thing. So long as you're not being swayed, and this is going to be the biggest problem, I think, is you'll get swayed into something that you have no business wading in the waters with. Like, I'm talking about economics and global crisis and, the government. The Elon Musk was asked before the last U.S. election, what do you think AI is going to do with this election? He said, nothing. Don't worry about it. But the next one, oh yeah, right. It's going to be crazy. And I'm looking at it. So that's 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm looking at stuff that's getting sent to me through social media. And I have to look at it with such a fine tooth comb type thing to see if it's real or not.
I'm having a hard time telling anymore. Like, we have like a band thread within Instagram. So we send funny, mostly music related memes, like to our little band chat.
Just telling jokes.
But then there's a lot of just like AI generated. Like I saw a guy get like crushed by a goat on his farm. Like he was trying to be an influencer. And then my drummer wrote back like that's not real. I was like, well, how can you tell? He goes, because that would have killed that guy. And like, he's still alive because he posted this video. He's like, that's not a real video. I was like, and we don't even agree. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that happened. Like, that's a pretty funny video. And the guy's like, no, it's not real. So we don't even know. Like, we can't even agree on whether what we saw was real.
And that's a problem too, because now you're not being critical. You're not giving yourself any critical thought.
No.
Towards, and that's just a couple photos. Like, that's a goat and a man.
Yeah.
Never mind everything else that you're not putting critical thought.
No, I know. It's pretty frightening. I don't know what the future is going to hold. I mean, the one theory that I did hear that gives me some comfort is that when everything becomes untrustworthy, then their reaction will be to get offline. The reaction will be like, we need to dismount. I don't know if that's ever going to happen given the like incentives in our brain to stay on, but
I look at that. I have that kind of motto today with the government.
Right.
I don't care what party you are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what stage you're on. I just assume that you're lying. And it makes it a lot easier for me.
Well, the whole idea of a nation is myth making, right? Like we tell the story of our country. Like we grew up telling the story over and over. We know about like Juno Beach, and we know about Passchendaele, and we know about the liberation of Holland, and we learn the myth of Canada. So in a way, if you're like a myth is another way of saying, it's like a lie over time. You just basically define the country and you say these things about it. So as the head of that, would you expect any different than sort of the peddling of certain? It's not that they're untruths, but they're like broad generalizations about what it is to be anywhere. You know what I mean? So I don't know if they're lies or not, but I don't know.
Well, that's just my approach, and it makes me feel easier.
I understand.
Makes me feel.
Can I drink a coffee here?
You can absolutely.
I'm not endorsed by Starbucks, but
you can do some heroin.
Okay, yeah, I'm not endorsed by heroin either.
Weapons grade.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're talking about technology and we're talking about social media, what about AI influencing and creating music? 50,000 songs a day being uploaded to digital service providers.
By AI, 50,000?
50,000.
That's really shocking. My son played me a song yesterday on the way home from school. He's in grade 6, and he played it for me. He's like, "Did you like that, Dad?" And I was like, it was okay. It was like schlocky pop. He's like, it was 100% AI. And he was almost like proud.
Because he gave it the cues that he wanted a song that had down this particular lane.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, well, I guess that's okay. I mean, I had a conversation with this about this with Sean from Wide Mouth. We played together last week in Red Deer on a show.
Wonderful guitarist.
He's one of the best in the country for sure. But he was just saying like, what we have to remember as artists is the satisfaction of coming up with it yourself. Like that we have to keep that sacred, because there is a thing where you're mulling over the lyric, or you're thinking about the arrangement, or you've demoed it and you've sent it around. And then suddenly there's like an aha moment where, everything's clicking. And now we have a real song happening here. That feeling that can only be earned. So what I hope is that people continue to want to earn it, like to earn that feeling of like, aha, we cracked the code. This song rules. And like, it's happened to us like lucky enough times, like 10, 20, 30 times where we know we've written a good song. And like, we have many hundreds of songs that we've written that don't make that mark. But there is like a certain aha moment where you have something special. And that is not, I don't think the computer feels that sense of satisfaction when the song gets spit out. But that's the only thing I can hope gets paid forward to another generation of artists, is just the feeling of like, wow, like we just put our imaginations together and this thing came out. And like, you could still be playing some of those songs 25 years later. I know that's true. But I don't know about the rest of it. I mean, cynically, I would think that these companies would go in bed with the AI companies so they can generate the content, so they could just make the money without having to pay anybody at all.
You mean the record labels?
Or I don't know if record labels are writing AI. Like,
they're teaming with these companies for sure.
Well, that makes sense. Or like, why would Spotify use a label? Why wouldn't they just get the AI tech and make the songs themselves?
Yeah, they have a direct partnership.
Yeah, that seems more. And so cynically, I would say if people start to consume that stuff with as much passion and it means as much to them as human artists, then they don't need human artists anymore.
It's interesting, though, because I think there's a gigantic demographic of people who don't know who the artist is that they're listening to.
Yeah.
They're not going to engage to find out who it is,
Mm-hmm.
and they're definitely not going to the show. And I think that has got to be 70% of all music listeners.
You think
maybe,
it's 70?
Maybe higher.
It's definitely going up because I find myself not knowing who anybody is. Now, part of that's being in my 40s and not, just caring as much as I maybe.
But it hasn't. It's not changed though. I think that number remains the same from.
You think it was the same in the 90s? I think
it was the same in the 70s. I think people it's on the radio and it's a different vibe.
I think that the media landscape has made it worse because there wasn't a single soul walking the earth who didn't know who Madonna was in 1993. Like even the least engaged assembly line guy knew who Madonna was, and they knew who Whitney Houston was, and they knew who, you know what I mean? Like there was much more, right. It was much more cohesive industry, and fewer got through. Mm-hmm. Many fewer got through. It was so gate kept, and that is what had to crumble, or that's what crumbled. I don't know if it had to, but it's what happened. And so now everybody can play, and you never know who's going to be, and that makes the landscape very hard to keep track of. I watch Saturday Night Live. I mostly like record it and watch it the next day. And half the time now, or maybe even 3/4 of the time, I don't know who the musical guest is at all. And I should know. I mean, I care about music. I'm in the industry. I produce young artists. I make my own music. I have my ear to the ground. I follow all the right people, all the people in my world that, influencers or whatever who turn you on to good music. And then half the time I'm still in the dark. I'm like, who the hell is this? You know what I mean?
Well, again, it comes back to there's so much content that's out there. Like how much time you can spend on YouTube just watching artists, and then you fall into another artist, and it just goes on and on and on.
And not to mention,
wormhole.
Well, because the Beatles just came back out with the anthologies again. But like, not to mention that all the stuff from the past remains evergreen and alive. Like the Zeppelin becoming Led Zeppelin doc was so good and exciting, and like any kid in the world can now experience Zeppelin in a way that I couldn't experience Zeppelin in the 90s when I picked up a guitar, and even my dad couldn't have experienced Zeppelin when he was going to see Zeppelin. Now it's like it's all there. All this, it's been colorized and remixed, and like you can really be immersed in Led Zeppelin in a way that was previously unavailable. So that's all there too.
I say that to artists all the time too. You're in competition not with every song that's being released this Friday.
Yeah.
It's every song that has been released.
The history of music.
Like the billions of titles that are out there.
Yeah.
Like think about all the different languages. Think about all the different cultures.
It's very daunting.
It's like turning into doom and gloom.
No, it's not doom and gloom. But it's a snapshot of where things are. And I think it'd be the hardest time to start right now. I could say that people were screaming about the industry, the state of it when we entered the industry in 2000, when we got signed in 2003 to like a big label, and people were already being like, the building is burning, everybody out, like it's going to be the death of us all. And we still sold like gold records amounts of CDs, and that was still happening. But it's so like, at least then we knew we had to do the radio promo tour. We had to go meet the people that were on the air, and we had to go like try to Much Music. As soon as Much Music added us, it was like game over. Everybody watches Much Music. That's like, we're going to be nationally exposed, and the whole thing's going to go up a whole other step. And it did. And it stayed up that other step, for like the amount of time that was all everybody was watching it. So none of that exists anymore. There's no one place you can go that everybody's looking. So that's a really tough thing.
I will say though, the performance during the Thanksgiving Day game with the Detroit Lions and Jack White came out with cool. Eminem, that was cool.
Yeah. Both artists older than me who have 5 years on me as career artists. And that's why everybody knows who they are. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't a 5-year-old artist, like an artist that broke 5 years ago and a rapper that broke 5 years ago. Those are the only kind of artists that can command those kind of moments because everybody knows who they are because they came out in a previous time.
The good news is though that people saw it live and people reacted and talked about it because there were other performances that day.
That's true. I saw a few of them.
Nobody talked about by comparison.
Yeah. Post Malone did the Cowboys game.
I mean, he's a giant international superstar.
Yeah.
As is Jack White and Eminem. But
no, you're right. They made a good moment happen.
Now, by contrast, I would like to say to the CFL, when you're having your Grey Cup and you have Our Lady Peace playing your opening to your Grey Cup.
We did the game before we did the Eastern Conference Final halftime.
You can dim the lights in the stadium.
Yeah.
It looked like they were standing in front of a train. It was so bright. And I'm like, why did you guys not dim the lights?
Yeah. I don't know.
Make it more of a vibe.
Yeah. No,
it sounded great. They had a good mix.
Yeah.
I know people that were at the Grey Cup, and they said our EP sounded great in the stadium too.
Did you enjoy Machine Gun Kelly? When I watched it at home, I wasn't there, but
you know, I didn't really care too much about it, but I have seen him play live, and I liked it.
Okay.
I mean, he's an artist, he's a performer.
Yep.
Like,
he's another guy who flew under my radar. I knew who he was more as a celebrity than a musician. Like I didn't know like the Big Banger, you know?
Sure.
I think I finished watching it and I still went, which one's the Big Banger? Yeah. But he's certainly a star, you know, and I think that's what you're after when you're making a TV show is eyeballs.
They dimmed the lights for him. That was nice.
They dimmed the lights, and that was big production.
Yeah. John-Angus MacDonald. The Trews have, by the way, John-Angus MacDonald.
Welcome to the show.
It's
We're going to start now?
Yeah, it was coming up, traffic and weather. New album, The Bloody Light. I see this album being titled One Morning When Someone Rips Open the Curtains on Jack in some hotel room, and he just says The Bloody Lights.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. I like that.
That's as what I know of the band The Trews, but congratulations.
What's happened?
Another album for
Thank
you
you
guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you have been, as you said, signed in 2003. House of Ill Fame comes out at that time, straight to number one.
Mm-hmm.
You guys made a career for yourselves in a time where I don't think a lot of other bands had enough effort or enough gas in the truck to do it. You went out and toured your ass off, playing hundreds of shows every year.
Yeah.
So now, if we fast forward, we're wrapping up 2025. I think you guys have played like 25,000 shows.
It's possible. We never counted, but we did tour a lot, and that was the formula. Like we looked up to bands like the Tragically Hip, and in the States, like bands like REM, who like. They did a lot of legwork. You know, they like got out in front of their people and they found their people.
Selling hard tickets,
selling records when that was a thing. But also at the end of it all, like if that doesn't work out, I tell bands all the time, even if that doesn't work out, unless you're a total dummy, you're going to finish that by being an awesome player, by an awesome singer. You're probably going to know how to write a couple songs. And even if your career doesn't go like, international nuclear, you're going to come away from that being an awesome musician, knowing what it takes to make music. And you could probably parlay that into like 3 or 4 different things. Like I never think it's a waste. I always tell bands like, get out there and play, like build your calluses, like get good at your craft, because like that's a reward in itself. And then the other reward can also be a career in music, which is also awesome,
Add to that, you're leaving your location, your hometown, your spot, which is set in its roots.
Yeah.
And it may be giving you a perspective that maybe isn't good for you. Maybe you need to step outside and go, oh, wait a minute, Saskatoon is actually quite nice.
Who are you referring to? Quite nice. I thought you meant get out of Saskatoon. For us, it was Antigonish.
Yeah, Antigonish. Didn't you live there was Hamilton, Toronto, but wasn't there an Ottawa moment?
No, it was never in Ottawa, but we were so all over the place in those early years that people thought we lived in Kingston because we were there like, a couple times a month. And we went from living in Antigonish, or like with our parents essentially still right out of high school, to being in Niagara Falls, which is a very peculiar move, but it was because we had some success playing in Toronto. Like Jeff Healy had seen us and invited us to be like a house band at his new bar. Craig Lasky had seen us at a new music night at the Horseshoe and wanted us back. And we're like, well, I think we should just like hub out of Toronto. That seems like the best idea.
Craig Lasky, by the way, does booking for...
Against the Grain.
And has been booking the Horseshoe forever.
Yeah. He saw us on a new music night in like 2000, I think, or 2001, and said, you guys got to come back. So we just got enough feedback that we were like, I think we should probably be here instead of Nova Scotia, where the phone never rang. We'd overplayed every single bar in our area, and it's not like we were, we felt like we'd sort of done that, and we felt like we had work to do this way. And then we just realized very quickly as broke musicians that we were never going to live in a band house in downtown Toronto. So we went hunting around for a band house, found one in Niagara Falls, and spent like 2 years basically getting off the ground, living hand to mouth in this kind of shithole in Niagara Falls.
What was the band like in 2003 in Niagara Falls? Would you classify yourselves as maniacs, rock and rollers? We
were driven. The only thing, we definitely acted like maniacs a lot of the times. We were early 20s, we were like 20, 21 years old. And we'd either dropped out or only partially went to any kind of university. We decided we were going to go for it in music. So the one thing we always did through the hangover was we got up and worked the next day. So we'd get up and like put on a strong pot of coffee and then hit the living room, which was a jam space. And we wrote songs, we rehearsed for shows, we booked ourselves shows. And looking back, we were pretty driven. That was the one thing I think we had going for us. But we certainly enjoyed ourselves at the same time. We booked 3 weekly shows. We played Hamilton every week, Toronto every week, Niagara every week. And that was like our circuit. And in between, we were trying to like build our career. We were writing songs. We were sending demos to managers, and we were, all that stuff you got to do.
What about odd jobs? What did you have for an odd job at that time?
We had a no day job pact. Like we decided we weren't going to do day jobs we gave ourselves 2 years. So we were very broke, but we always made money making music. So like we would, if times were real tough, we would literally go busk, and we could make like $200 US because like a lot of Americans would come over to Niagara Falls. So we'd like set up at the corner of like the top of Clifton Hill and just play acoustic guitars for a few hours. And then it'd be like, a couple $100 US in the guitar case.
And it sounds weird to some people, but you just talked about going across the country and touring in a band and getting all that experience, playing live.
Yeah.
Busking is playing live.
Oh yeah.
And it's probably way harder.
The realest form of playing live, because nobody cares. If you can make somebody turn their head and then even reach into their pocket, you're probably doing all right.
And it probably taught you, because you're busking, you're playing so many covers because you have to.
Yeah, we did a lot.
It taught you a lot about songwriting.
Yeah.
Where you started applying that to the Trews music.
100%. Well, the difference between people tend to put them in different buckets. They go like, these are other people's songs and these are our songs. And you're like, no, they're all just songs. Like really, if you want to have a career, they got to compete with this bucket. It can't just be, this is what I do and this is real shit. It has to be all the same. So like you have to make this stuff rise to the level of at least some of these songs. And that's the challenge. That's every artist's challenge. And there's a lot of ways to get there. A good producer can help. You can get with some co-writers who can be like, hey, your song doesn't need to be 5.5 minutes. It's like about 2.5 good minutes. Let's work on those.
I think that's the hardest part though for an artist, is to have that trusted partner in their camp, whether it's the band or external. It could be a manager. It could just be a friend.
Yeah.
Who can actually give a critical opinion about your music.
Yeah.
There's an artist, Wyatt Flores. He's out of Oklahoma, and his buddies don't listen to Americana country. They listen to hip hop. He comes back with a new song, and they go, this song is really good.
Right.
We don't even listen to your genre. Really like this song.
Right.
And the guy's taking off.
Yeah.
But he's got some critical people that can help him along the way, just to give him a thumbs up or a thumbs down, because you said you got hundreds of songs that have never been released. Mm-hmm. So that means you spent thousands of hours working on music, and for some reason it just doesn't bite for even you guys. Yeah.
Well, you have to be your own toughest critic. And internally, I think we always, we could be honest on that level with one another and be like, this isn't happening. You know what I mean? And sort of check egos at the door, hopefully, at least in the perfect world. And everybody can just sort of get on board with the best idea. I think that's what makes a good band a good band. It's like, you kind of know when you're hitting it. It doesn't happen all the time. It takes a lot of kicking at the can, but then when it does, it feels really good. It feels really good to say, oh, we put our heads together and came up with this thing, and it's pretty cool.
Because you have such a huge library with the Trews, have you ever written a song and then later gone, wait a minute, did we already write that song and release it? It's got kind of the same melody. It's got the same hook, maybe even the same chord pattern.
Yeah, that does happen. I mean, everybody has their wheelhouse. Colin likes to sing melodies in a certain kind of range, and he doesn't even realize he's doing it. It's just like a habit, it's like you hear a G chord and suddenly your voice wants to sing a D, and that's just sort of, everybody has their little tendencies. And I think that's, again, one of the good reasons to be in a band is people can shake you out of those tendencies. And then you maybe Jack slips a melody in his ear, and then suddenly Colin's singing something totally different that he never would have sung before. And it feels like a discovery. There's no such thing as a true musical discovery. I don't know if it can happen anymore. I feel like it's been mined, but it can still feel like a discovery, which I think is what makes things feel fresh. And when artists start to really feel like they know it all, it's why, you don't get a ton of like successful artists coming out of like music schools. It's because they know everything. They know how it works. It doesn't feel like a discovery. They feel like, oh, that's just because the fifth is harmonically pleasing after the third. And da, 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 da. But like, as long as it's discovery, if it's a discovery to you and it's like feeling fresh to you and giving you the little like hair standing up, spine tingling kind of moment, that's going to probably happen for somebody else too.
So now that you've been producing bands for years now, you still seek outside production. Jay and Brett from Glorious Sons helped out on this new album. You guys have been pals with them for forevers.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing too, because you're looking at them going, okay, what is your take on this? How do you communicate that kind of info back and forth, like with either with the bands that you're working with, or buddies like Jay and Brett who have had great success with songs in Canada and all over?
Yeah.
What kind of communication is that before you just say, Jay, I'm going to knock your teeth out?
It didn't get there, unfortunately. But like, I was their first producer. I don't know if you knew that part. Like, I produced their debut EP and album, The Union. So I found those guys when they were like very new, like very green. I think Brett was 19 when I met them. And so
fresh out of dropping out of school.
I think he's 1 year away out of dropping out of school. And I saw them opening for us. I introduced myself after the show and they're like, oh yeah, so nice to meet you. And I'm like, have you ever had a producer? I'd love to like produce you guys. And they're like, oh, what's a producer? Like they were like really, really just starting. They had no idea about the industry or anything. So we got together and we did the song Mama, which was like immediately set them on the path. Like I knew they had good songs. All they needed was like some guidance in the studio. So there was a certain level of trust established. I ended up doing the rest of that EP. I ended up doing the album and we took them on tour. We took them on tour in 2014. Like the Glorious Sons opening for the Trews was like a ticket you could have bought in 2014. Now people are like, it's like the stuff of legend now, but like it was like a wicked tour. They were honestly giving us a run for our money every night because Brett's a fucking madman on stage. And we're going backstage going like, we got to go after this. But it was great. It was great rock and roll.
He is, you're right. He is a madman on stage. And he's kind of got this thinking man's pause throughout the day, as I've experienced, and then kind of goes on stage and it's like, oh, you're split personality.
Yeah.
You got a whole different thing going on.
He's a deep thinker, man. Like Brett is a profound guy, just overall. Like because people see him on stage, they just see the Tasmanian devil, but he does have he considers his words very carefully, considers everything very carefully. So fast forward to like 2023, and we were like a year into trying to figure out our next album. The other one had come out at the end of 21. So we were like trying to get back at it. We had worked with like a couple of different producers and just as trusted pals, like they would send me stuff they're working on. I would send them stuff we're working on. And one boozy night here in Toronto, Brett took me to see a band called Tiny Horse that he'd been producing. And before the show, we kind of went through and listened to our demos, and then we went and watched this band and got kind of littered. And then after the next morning, he's like, you know what? Would you ever consider like letting me produce a song for you guys? He's like, I don't think you're hitting it on the level that you can be. Like, can you give me one shot is what he asked for. I was like, yeah, man, like I'm not precious. Let's do it. So we got together in Hamilton. We did this song called The Bloody Light, which ended up being the title track. And we were all like high-fiving on a level that was like, we hadn't been hitting with the other stuff that we've been doing. So we just decided to keep rolling. And next thing you know, we had a record.
It's funny though, too, that one little injection, that one little change. I mean, major change being a producer, but it's still a new person to the circle.
Yep.
And I don't know, maybe it keeps some bands on their toes and maybe it gives some people a little bit of edge. Maybe there's even pushback, but it changes the dynamic.
It can also just be like the enthusiasm level. Like everybody's now, because he's so jacked up and he brought his brother in who's also excited about it, and we're working in a new studio, and now the whole, it's all chemistry, right? Like it's like one little element can make the whole thing different. And that was our experience with it. And we all got stoked.
We're probably all lucky that you guys didn't just go out and form a gang. The two MacDonalds, the two Emmons brothers, just going out and just being a
bunch of brothers,
bunch of heathens.
Mm-hmm. The world is better off.
The world is better off. Back to touring. There's dates right across the country, and you're so smart. You go touring in Canada during the winter. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of bands can do it, because they can't do that hard ticket like the Trews can, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. But you basically break up winter by going out and having a great time every night.
Yeah.
Like you come off that tour and now it's like springtime, everything's warmer.
Yeah.
Everyone is set to chill and now you're set for festivals. That's genius. Whoever said touring in the winter, was that your agent, Ralph?
Ralph certainly knows it. He knows that Canadians by late January and February are just dying to get out of the house. But that tip came from the Tragically Hip. Again, I got to tip my hat to those guys. They used to always say it's a great time to tour in Canada because you ain't got no competition. Not going to be a bunch of California bands rolling across, Alberta and Saskatchewan and Manitoba in February.
No one's got softball night?
No, there's none of that. So it was always a good time to play rock and roll in Canada. And for those who can do it, it can be a little harrowing. It's like you're dealing with the elements, you're dealing with the Rockies, you're dealing with the cold, unforgiving prairies.
There's a lot of people who have no idea what that feels like in Canada. Like
can be a
that
grind.
is something. Like when you step outside of the hotel
and
your lungs will not let you breathe the air.
Yeah.
Your lungs say, no, dude, it's too cold.
Yeah.
Can't breathe this air. Gotta give it a minute.
On our Civilian Airs tour, we had like some kind of cold front and it was 2019 in February. And our bus came from Florida and it just couldn't fight the cold. And I slept on the bottom bunk in that bus, but my mattress froze to the frame of the bus. Like I had to peel my mattress off the bottom of the bus. It was frozen solid.
Oh my. And you're just looking like, can we please make another stop at a gas station? Please. Somewhere along the way. I know it's going to take this 2-hour bus ride to 4 hours real fast.
But the shows themselves are a joy. Like there is something about that like hardship of like the season. Then you get in a nice warm venue like the Commodore and it's bumping with 1,200 people and everybody loses their mind together. I think it's like there's something to it because it's worked for us over and over again. And I know a lot of other Canadian bands that like it a lot too.
I've heard that you guys, as far as a band, the Trews, over-index on alcohol sales.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
Most nights we don't do this much volume.
Yeah.
But the Trews have consistently done it year after year.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
I think so. I mean, if people are drinking it, hopefully it means they're having a good time and they're not drinking for the other reasons. Like hopefully it's because they're having too much fun and not because they're too bummed out or something.
So much fun.
Yeah, I think it's about the fun. And like I know early in our career, we were told we broke a record that April Wine previously held at the Marquee in Halifax, which is like one of our OG stomping grounds. So we were like pretty proud of that fact. I don't know if it still stands. I think the Suns would probably give us a run for our money. Their fans like to drink.
Well, I think too, we got to say, what is the level of measurement for the alcohol consumption? Is it dollars?
Yeah.
Is it dollars in the venue? Because when you first started, it was $4 to get a beer.
I imagine
it's 12.
I imagine it's some kind of per head thing, but you're right. Beer prices have gone nuts. So I don't know. Who knows?
Congratulations.
We'll keep trying to bust through those records though.
Two things. Back to production. You talk about the Tragically Hip and touring, and they gave you all the insights to stay on the road, but you've also worked with Gord Sinclair.
Yeah.
And he credits you guys for working with him that actually got him out to play on the road again.
Yeah. Oh, I love that guy so much. Like he was the first point of contact with the Tragically Hip. Like we were massive fans, like small town Nova Scotia, one of the only arena acts that ever came to play. I remember going to see them in like February in like 1998 when I was still in high school. And so the Hip were like, from the outside looking in, we loved them like everybody else did. But then Gord like called me one day when we were like finally getting our thing together, and Sinclair called me up and he's like, hey, we have this show happening. It's a free show outside of Kingston called Across the Causeway. Would you guys consider jumping on the bill? And I think we were like in New Brunswick, like the day before that show. And I was like, we'll be there. I'm like, we'll figure it out. We'll be there. Like the manager's like, you can't make it from like St. John, New Brunswick to Kingston. Like there's too many flights. Your gear will never make it yet. I was like, no, we'll be there. It's the Hip asking, we'll be there. So that's the level of like respect that we have for those guys just going into that relationship. But then we got to know them and they took us on tour. We got to work at their studio. Sinclair co-produced our 4th album with us called Hope and Ruin. And then all the terrible stuff that went down, towards like the end. And then there was this like lull and where everything seemed like it just kind of went away. The guys all retreated, didn't hear from anybody too much. So I was really glad to get a call one day in 2017 or 18, I guess, where he said like, listen, I want to send you some songs because I'm thinking about recording an album again. And I was like, count me in. Like I'll be there to support in any way that I can. He asked me to co-produce. He asked me to sort of put the band together a little bit. I convinced him to play bass. I was like, these are his songs that he wrote on acoustic, but I'm like, you're like the best bass player in, certainly Canadian rock. Sorry, Getty. But I love Sinclair's bass playing. And so it was me on guitar, him on bass, our drummer at the time, Chris, playing drums, and James, the co-producer, also playing a bunch of stuff. And we had a great time making this record. And I really loved it. The only really unfortunate thing is that it came out in February of 2020. And we took him on tour, and we did about 10 dates together before the whole
They're all
world.
stripped, they were like a stripped down.
Yeah, we did he was only touring as a duo, him and James. Myself and Chris would come back him up on a couple songs. And then we would play acoustic, and then we would sort of evolve the night into electric. Then we'd bring Gord back out and do some hip songs. And then that happened, we toured right up to March 14th. And I remember we call it the Last Supper, where we played a really small market, like Goderich or something, one of these theaters. And afterwards we all went to this restaurant. They're like, we'll keep it open, but tomorrow we're closing, indefinitely closing. And we had this last evening together, drinking and eating and having a nice time. And then nobody saw each other again for 6 months.
So crazy that happened.
Yeah.
I am a firm believer it will never happen again.
Not that way.
I think there's going to be a lot of conspiracies out there that people are going to push back and say, you went a little bit too strong-armed us into things. Being in Toronto, shutting down the city and putting curfews in place. Yet I could be in British Columbia and we could all go, or 50% of us could be in the hockey arena.
Yeah.
And we could be watching the game.
Yeah.
So how did the math of COVID?
Well, it didn't.
It didn't sync.
It was the collision of science, data, and government, and then governments having to answer to their populations. And I'm not conspiratorial, and I don't think there was a mastermind at the top saying, let's do this.
I got this idea.
I actually think it's just, that's human behavior for you in a nutshell. All these different factions trying to figure out what the right thing to do is, and everybody being dissatisfied. Our first summer in 2020, we did 3 drive-in shows. One of them was at OLG. It was the parking lot of Budweiser, or it's going to be called RBC in a bit. But that parking lot,
yeah,
they put 400 cars in the parking lot, and we played for 400 cars. I mean, that's the weirdest thing. If I had time traveled to that moment from any other point in my life, I'd be like, what happened? How are we playing for 400 cars? We're playing for headlights. It was the weirdest thing ever. And we did 2 more of them or 3 more of them.
Now there weren't they would show applause by having their windshield wipers going.
No,
I mean
they didn't encourage honking, but people honked, and people flicked their high beams.
Yeah.
It was just bizarre.
You're on stage and you get a seizure.
Yeah, and then I think then we went to the Stampede, and I think Alberta was one of those places that kind of pulled a Florida and threw off all. And it was pre-Omicron. And then we went to Alberta for Stampede. And now we're in a hotel where we'd all been in masks for a year. But I think this was the summer of 21. And then everything was no, people are jumping in the pool and everybody's having a good time. But then Omicron came raging and everybody got super sick. And I don't know. Who fucking knows? I'm glad it wasn't my decision to make.
I remember, I was actually just talking to Jay from Bedouin Sound Clash saying during COVID, there was a time where everybody was locked down in Eastern Canada. And they're playing a show in some warehouse in Vancouver, and there are 10,000, maybe 15,000 people there because they were all losing their minds to get out and go see something. Right. And they said, yeah, you can have a show, you can play something, go for it right here. They ended up calling the cops on their own party.
Was that were they violating protocol, or was that allowed?
No, it was allowed. You were allowed to gather, you were allowed to hang, you're allowed to do all these things, but there was just such a pent up demand to be in these spaces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Overall, though, I will just say, to put a button on it, it was generally a dark time. I don't know anybody that looks back with great fondness. Having little kids at that time was it was a bummer. Yeah.
How it changed their lives forever. Yeah. And young kids, there was a lot of people that were so stressed, but young kids that were so stressed about things, wouldn't even look outside because they thought they were going to be,
it was a serious bummer. So I really, here's to no more pandemics.
Lastly, we did a show together, the Junos in Winnipeg. And
I remember it.
I remember this one moment, and I don't know if I brought it up with you in the past, but I was introducing you guys on stage, and one of your crew, I think, or someone who may have drummed in the band at the time.
That was Sean at the time.
Screaming, "Hey DJ, get off the stage!" And I'm just up there doing the whatever the business line is.
That sounds like the crew. I don't think that was anybody in the band. I'm going to throw the crew under the bus.
And I'm
on
doing
that
my
one.
thing on the stage, and I'm like, yeah, and there's this and that, and thank you, and blah, blah, blah. And then I look over, I'm like,
and it was your party. It was the exit.
Motherfucker, I'm paying for this.
I was definitely. Did it look like Slash?
I just look when you're on stage and you hear that coming from the side,
man.
It makes me laugh.
Jeff, it wasn't me. I'm not just being a deflection here.
It makes me laugh. I'm so happy. I love those things, even when they happen to me.
You know, that's been recorded, and I have that show. We have a fan club that we put 2 songs out a month to, just from our archives. I started it in COVID.
Smart.
So I have hard drives upon hard drives of like mixes of things that people have sent me, and it's a closed community. Like it doesn't go wide, but I've shared tracks from that performance. It was well recorded, so kudos to
Steve
you guys.
Major.
Yeah, that's right. I know Steve married a friend of mine.
So Steve, that was at the Park Theater in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And
2014.
What was unique about that is it was one of the first concerts they had there, or rock and roll concerts. They might have had some very light stuff in the past, and they were so freaked out. Back to you over-indexing on liquor sales. They thought the whole facade of the building was going to collapse. They didn't know what to do. It was such a good time.
Oh shit! Well, good times, good memories.
Okay, more good times coming up. The Trews on tour, trewsmusic.com, where we can get everything. John-Angus MacDonald, please say hi to everybody in the band.
I will. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
And we'll see you on stage real quick.
Beauty.
Now forget everything that you thought you knew from the share